Throughout the history of this planet, the presence of the feline has been etched in the form of ancient monuments and wise gods. A well-preserved Sphinx in Egypt and other monuments around the world add many more questions regarding ancient humanity's connection to the feline. Who did these wise feline deities represent? What are the cosmic connections? Legends tell of a time when the Great Sphinx of Giza was a full lion. But the evidence of who and when our ancestors carved this into the bedrock remains one of humanity's greatest debates. As alternative researchers search for more relics, the evidence is mounting that the feline had a tremendous power and presence in many of Earth's highly advanced ancient civilizations.
Almost universally, ancient texts and traditions have revered the power of the feline throughout history in ways that reach into our world even today. And it comes up in unexpected ways. We see, for example, 40,000 years ago in Northern Europe, we see the first images, cave paintings, of lions on the cave walls. All the animals that were present during that time, why did our ancestors choose to portray those lions? What did it mean to them?
One of the oldest statues in the world shows a human-like character with the head of a lion. And this comes from a cave in Germany and is dated to anything between 20 and 30,000 years ago. And this shows you just how ancient this relationship, this connection is between felines and human beings.
One common monument that unites virtually all the world's traditions is the image of the Sphinx. When people think of the Sphinx, of course, they're thinking of the Sphinx at Egypt in its present form that's half human, half feline. Let's go to ancient Sumeria, where we also find the god Nergal is half human, half lion. He also is a figure that's given ferocious capacities. He's a warrior type, but he also has the ability to cross through gateways. And this is a very important aspect of the Sphinx imagery and mythology that we find around the world. The Sphinx is considered the guardian of gateways into palaces, into temples, but also into other realms as well.
The lion was an important archetype in ancient Egypt, as well as in the final phase of Atlantis. It was a powerful symbol that resonated deeply in society and was later carried through Zeb-Tepi into ancient Egypt.
The Forbidden City in China have the lion standing there very regally at the front, at the entrance to the temple, with the paw over this little ball. And you look at the little ball and it tells you everything you need to know, because that's a flower of life. That's the matrix of the creative code of civilization, of the universe, if you like. It's the foundation of everything there is. And just by putting the lion's paw on that tells you that that's where the information originally came from. It was someone associated with that symbol, that female entity that came from somewhere else that knew how life is created. They knew about the codes of life itself, and they formed the foundation of human civilization. So you're taking a very old symbol and then putting it at the entrance to the Forbidden City to give honor to a bunch of kings and queens who by then probably had no connection to any of this, but the memory of the original story remains, and that's what's important. It's the memory of how we got there.
When we come to the great civilizations of Sumeria, Babylon, Greece, the Mycenaeans, for instance, you'll find that you have lions at the front of gates and entrances. And the reason for this is because they represented this point of contact between this world and the next. They became the guardians of the entrances into the other world.
In India, you find these feline symbols, feline statues all over India, but specifically consider this great spiritual temple, spiritual site called Chidambaram with the dancing Shiva. And this place is filled with these feline statues. They are the guardians, and the devotees will actually worship these feline statues before entering the temple. Because these are considered the protectors, but also these are considered as agency to approach the Shiva. So it is the agency that intervenes between the devotee and the ultimate truth, if you want to call it, or the ultimate energy. And therefore, you are like requesting their help in the journey of the evolution of your consciousness.
So regardless if we're looking at leopards, lions, or other big cats, the presence of the feline is definitely recorded and revered by these ancient people.
The feline connection around the world is fascinating because wherever you go around the world, you tend to see the images of lions all over the place. And you think, well, why are lions so important? And you think, well, where does all this come from? And I tried to sort of take it back as far as I could, because originally everything was connected to the stars. If we look at the constellation of Leo, and you have the bright star Regulus, now you've got a story that spans all around the world. Everyone talks about this, because in India, the star Regulus is actually Magha. And it means the exalted one, the magnificent one. And it's supposed to be a sort of a royal star. It's associated with a kind of divine kingship. But they say that particular star forms a kind of gateway. It's a place where high knowledge or the mystery teachings originally came from. So within the series of the zodiac, for example, you have every constellation has its own specific function. Regulus and Leo, their function is to bring out information, like an astral reference library, if you like. That is a place that is defined as a location where you're going to get information that dates back all the way to kingship, when kingship was lowered from the heaven to earth, as the Sumerians used to call it. So it's that association with divine kingship which establishes the lion as part of that symbology.
10,450 BCE, Leo was on the horizon. And that's exactly where the Sphinx was looking. The Sphinx does have paws and a body like a lion, and there's different theories about why this is being emphasized.
Another potential Sphinx connection can be found deep in the heart of Romania, where legends of giants and holographic technology echo through the mountains.
The Dacians were the ancient peoples of Romania, and they took a particular interest in the Carpathian Mountains. The Carpathians being an incredibly enigmatic and strange place, somewhere that is integrally associated with mythology and legend. It was believed that many of the strange monuments that could be found on the top of the mountains were said to be representations of ancient creatures, ancient supernatural forms. And of these, probably the most enigmatic and strange was that of the Sphinx. It is considered to be one of the 7 ancient wonders of Romania.
There is still, of course, controversy about whether what we call the Sphinx is an artificial structure or a natural formation, as the primary mineral is sandstone. Mainstream science generally views the Romanian Sphinx as the result of natural erosion. However, empirical measurements suggest a strong morphogenetic field, which would be unlikely to exist with such intensity if the formation was natural, if it was some sort of eroded natural sandstone. Any Sphinx, the Carpathian, the Egyptian, naturally emits a very strong energy information field that allows these individual sphinxes to be non-locally energetically connected through a network. It's not just the design of the Sphinx, it's what has been implanted on a mental level through the collective consciousness of the initiates, into the core of the Sphinx, but on a purely energetic level. Because of the strong energy information field that our ancestors imprinted into the Sphinx with their collective consciousness, Using their knowledge, the sphinxes are connected through a network, a matrix.
The mystique and the mystery of the Carpathian Mountains has been growing since the release of a book called Transylvanian Sunrise by Radu Sinamar. In that book, he depicts a room underneath the Carpathian Sphinx that has advanced holographic technology, almost like a holographic hall of records. And he tells us that stretching out from that room are tunnels that lead to Tibet, that lead to Egypt, even to the inner earth.
The first information about the structure of these intercontinental tunnels in the Buchech region, along with many other fascinating topics, came to me in 2004. Radu Sinamar, or Chinamar, as his name is sometimes pronounced, has written 8 books that explore the mysteries of the Buchech area as a whole. Comparing the information in his publications with what I know, I would say the accuracy or truthfulness or potency of his information is around 75% to 80%. In Radu Sinamar's books, it's often mentioned that the creators of the underground installation and its tunnels are more or less unknown. But I can say quite confidently that the creators were the Felines. The Carpathian Sphinx, as an archetype, is essentially the personification of the Felines. It is a memorial, a tribute to these mentors, these spiritual cosmic mentors, who have had a very strong positive impact on our planet.
Southeast of Romania, the mystery and pre-Diluvian influence of ancient Turkey continues to baffle mainstream and alternative researchers. Recent discoveries from this region have added further evidence of humanity's connection with felines roughly 12,000 years ago.
One of the most important animal totems found at places like Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe in southeastern Turkey, sites that date back as much as 11,500 years, is that you see the feline everywhere. And in particular, we are looking at a panther or a leopard.
All over the site, since it's been excavated, which is only the last few years, many depictions of leopards have been found. Now, we're not just talking about simple carvings of leopards or different felines. We're actually talking about 3D statues of leopards. Often, they're kind of like, almost like a shamanic pose, with the leopard coming up over the top of it. So this is really, really compelling, because it seems that the leopard, which we know was around at the time of Karahan Tepe in that area, became like a kind of shamanic symbol, almost like a deity of these people.
The leopard would seem to have been associated with the transformation of a human into an animal form for shamanic purposes. In other words, to enter into an altered state of consciousness and to be able to travel within an otherworldly environment. And therefore, the feline became one of the most primordial psychopomps. In other words, the spirit that would accompany the human soul as it went from this world into the next.
Ancient cultures were very much obsessed with looking at the landscape, looking at nature and seeing how nature works, and then transposing nature in a way that you can communicate the concept to ordinary people who couldn't read or write. So let's take the jaguar, for example. You have this wonderful, graceful creature that is somehow godly. And the Shem priest in Egypt looked at this and said, if we take the actual jaguar skin and then drape it around us, it gives us the symbol of office that we are connected to, first of all, to the feline tradition of knowledge from the gods, and also of royalty that's connected to a kind of regal concept of where gods and humans interacted. So it's a badge of office. One corner of the knowledge was all to do with getting back to the stars. Whether you're alive or dead doesn't matter. They did both. So if you're doing initiation, the idea was that the Shem priest would be in charge of your soul leaving the body in a prescribed manner where you'd have an induced near-death experience to go back to the stars. And this is where the jaguar comes in, because the spots on the jaguar skin represent the stars in the firmament. So it's a very clever analogy.
When we look for exemplars of this, let's call it a advanced race of priests and priestesses that are traveling the stars, we have to look no further than the Sem priests in ancient Egypt. They're noted for wearing their jaguar skin or leopard skin cloaks. They're the masters of herbs and herbology, and especially are masters of the art of resurrection. They are the ones that are always present in the opening of the mouth ceremony when the pharaoh is preparing to open the gateways into the stars. They're considered to be astronomer priests. They're involved with the temple building as well. And all of these are attributes, the temple building, the knowledge of resurrection, the understanding of herbs, and the ability to promote human longevity. These are all attributes of this leonine race that we find all over the world.
As with most ancient mysteries, the trail leads back to Egypt, where the most concentrated and prominent collection of feminine feline deities watch over this sacred land.
When we look to the feline presence in ancient Egypt, we see fantastic, powerful goddesses, for example, like Sekhmet, and statues abound by her. For example, Amenhotep III, there was over 700 statues of her. She had a huge presence.
In the Egyptian traditions, there are several feline deities. The most popular, most commonly known and oldest were Sekhmet and Bastet or Bast. And of course, we also have various other goddesses that appear as lions. You have Wadjet, Tefnut. So there are many goddesses that would appear as the lion, always in the lioness form or the cat. The feline deities were associated with Ra, the sun god, partly because of the lion being associated with warmth, with the color yellow, very solar kind of energy. And so these goddesses, often in their lion form, were called the daughter of Ra, sometimes called the eye of Ra, sometimes the consort of Ra. So like Sekhmet or Bast would accompany Ra in the journey across the sky and also through the underworld as the boat that would carry Ra, the sun, across the sky. The lioness would be there protecting him from any of his enemies. And then through the underworld and the journey through the night, she was the defender. She would turn more into the ferocious lion to defend him. And it was her job to help make sure that the sun would rise again the next day.
With the presence of the feline embedded within several ancient cultures around the planet, the masons of these megalithic statues and monuments had a superior understanding of the powers of stone. But did the sculptors of these mighty protectors program them to protect these sacred sites on more advanced energetic levels?
In ancient Egypt, the statues that were created by the stonemasons to be depictions of the gods and goddesses were not just about the likeness of the god or goddess. They were meant to be almost like embodiments of the god or goddess. They were a house, a way for that god or goddess to anchor into the physical.
What I think went into those statues was stone programming. And stone programming was discovered way back with master dowsers when it comes to statues. For instance, it was the master dowser Tom Lethbridge that said you could put a polarity into a piece of stone, be that a statue or a standing stone. And that means if I'm chiseling at a stone, or I literally hold a stone for a while, it will register with a pendulum a female polarity by going counterclockwise. And a male working stone would be the opposite. It would be a clockwise pendulum motion. So we can see which cultures, which gender rather, made the statues. And with the statues of lionesses throughout ancient Egypt, they were made by women, because when I've doused them at the British Museum and in Egypt itself, they always register a female polarity. So we are believed that it was males that were the masons, but I think it was the females as well. So it makes me think, you see, that these statues to the ancient Egyptians weren't statues. They housed the soul. They were the lion goddess. They were Ramesses, because Ramesses also did a lot of his statues. And so I think with the stone programming, the chiseling, you've got living statues.
When you're in the temples of Egypt or in present-day museums and you see examples of the leonine goddesses, Sekhmet, Bastet, and others, they are so lifelike. And you're just compelled to believe that the artists who sculpted those must have seen that being, whether physically and present in front of them or somehow in consciousness, because they are so lifelike. We know that they're all infused as well. They're primarily made of granite. They're considered to be living statues. There's one in the Ptah Chapel at Karnak. They keep her locked up because the local legend says otherwise she'd walk around the Karnak temple complex. And people have had amazing experiences standing in front of this statue. And so it makes you wonder, were these beings actually physically present, walking around in flesh and blood, or was it just that they were able to infuse these statues with their living presence, and those statues effectively are those beings?
Without saying a word, when I take a group into a temple of Sekhmet, for example, I will look around the room and almost immediately I'll see some people just break down in tears, because the image and the archetype and the power and the wisdom that is held in that image triggers an awareness, a memory, an awakening within us, within our energy bodies. And when we have those experiences, that then is our opportunity to go within ourselves, to go within our hearts, and ask the question, what does this image mean to me? What is the significance of this image in my life path? What am I feeling in this moment? And in this way, Sekhmet becomes the catalyst, the trigger, even in modern times, that awakens within us a deeper truth of our own existence.
There is little doubt that these supremely sophisticated works of art were sculpted with purpose. But the question remains, who did they represent?
All around the world, there are myths and legends of a feline race, of a race of beings that are half human, half feline. They play a role in our evolution. They play a role as guardians of sacred sites. They're purveyors of healing knowledge. They are always presented as benefactors of humanity. But who are these beings, and where do they come from? Is it possible that there is actually a race of feline-type beings, of humanoid felines that once walked the planet, that maybe still walk the planet? Or were these beings that were just existing in human imagination? Were they accessed through meditation? Were they accessed through psychoactive substances? How is it possible, though, that all over the world we have these stories of these beings going back to the very beginning of the human story?
Looking to the work of Anton Parks, he talks about the Urma, which are these massive feline beings that come to Earth from another world. They're protectors, they're defenders. They help protect the ancient civilizations and the people of Earth. But who are they protecting us from? We get some further insight from the work of Swaru, who also talk about the Urma as these 8-foot to 9-foot tall feline beings that resemble tigers or lions that walk on 2 feet and weigh over 600 pounds. Swaru tells us that they are protectors, defenders, that they can be aggressive, that they can be militant. Swaru tells us that they are in direct opposition to Draco, to the Urian Council, who are in pursuit of their service to self-agenda, to control and manipulate humanity for their own means. But the Urmas are the protectors and defenders. They are working service to others through their actions, protecting humanity and all other humanoid beings across the galaxy.
The archaic galactic intelligence, known as the Felines, played a significant role in seeding humanoid genetics throughout the galaxy. And it was the Felines who chose this planet for its rich biodiversity in the ecosystem, establishing it as one of the many genetic libraries in our galaxy. The primary mission of the feline beings is to work systematically and continuously with human society in a non-violent way, to work through inspiration, imagination, and the collective sharing of knowledge, and the dissemination of that knowledge, so that the basic, vibrational, resonant potential of humanity would rise to a higher octave. The feline entities have created several educational community hotspots here in ancient times. One of these hotspots was in the area of ancient Egypt, but the original area was much larger. If we take the Carpathian Sphinx specifically as a center, there's a powerful energy field extending 1 to 1.2 miles in all directions, with strong nurturing and healing effects. The felines were teachers of unity at all levels, and their philosophy emphasized, among other things, that the evolutionary and developmental goal of humanity and civilization is to unify the energetic and qualitative aspects of the heart chakra with the 6th and 7th chakras. And achieving this will initiate a state of inner unity. And only when one attains this so-called inner unity can they bring about a state of outer unity, which is the ability to harmonize the reality around them.
There is no question that felines were one of the most important totemic and animistic forms that helped humanity evolve into what we are today. It allowed us technology, innovation, and cosmology, in other words, an understanding of who we were and where we came from. And this is the reason why we see those lions everywhere in front of the entrances into temples and palaces and castles all the way around the world.
As the best science of the modern world gives us deeper insights into our past, what we find is that the role of the feline energy, feline presence, is consistent. It's always been with us, it's with us today. I think we owe it to ourselves to understand, what is Sekhmet saying to us? What does the power of the feline say about us and our relationship to the world? What did our ancestors know in their time that we're only beginning to understand in ours?
As the power and influence of these mighty felines continues to ripple through our modern cities, what other evidence will be discovered to help us decipher the codes and clues preserved in stone by our ancient ancestors?